Hey everybody, it's Betsy, and you might remember that last time when we were doing our final Frozen class, we were supposed to do Elsa and Anna, but we only had time for Anna. So this is a bonus video so that we can finish up with Elsa, and I'm going to go ahead and start looking for clues on where Elsa is in the same spot as some of Anna's things. So you can see like the edge of her hat here is going right next to her ear. You can see that Elsa's braid comes right out of Anna's braid. You can see that her dress comes right out of Anna's cape there. So there's lots of clues that we can use to start placing Elsa in the proper place. I'm going to go ahead and use that first one. I was noticing this part right here where her hair goes right into Anna's cap. And I'm going to just sketch a line right there to tell me that's where her hair is. And her ear is going to come out a little bit under that. Just a little curved line, no big deal. There's a cat taking a nap in my room, and he snores kind of loud sometimes, so I apologize if you can hear that. Next, we're going to go ahead and start making her jawline. So you can see that it comes down a little bit and then goes over to the left. So I'm going to come on down just a little bit and take it on that way. I don't know how far yet, so I'm just going to give myself a line so I can start visualizing. A little bit underneath her earlobe, we have her hair, her braid sweeping back, and it touches into Anna's hair. So I'm going to go ahead and add that line. Sweeps right back there. And then from that same spot almost, we have Elsa's braid that starts coming this way. It's a little bit angular. You can see these lines are a little straighter, and it comes very close to her chin line. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch that in with some straighter lines than normal for when we're drawing hair. Next, we're going to draw this very long sweeping line that comes out of Anna's hair, somewhere around here, and goes forward. Big sweeping line. I don't really know how far yet, but I'm going to just give my best guess. Let's zoom in a little bit there. Then we have this bottom part of her braid that's also fairly angular. And that's going to start just a little bit after this curve here. And it's almost going to touch that line we just drew, that curvy line. It comes very close. Then we have one more little bump on the top. And after this part of her braid that we just drew, we have her shoulder coming down. So we can go ahead and do a nice long line for her shoulder and her arm. We don't know how long yet, but we'll just give it our best guess. And then we can see the line of her dress that goes all the way back and touches into Anna's cape there, a little capelet, I guess. I don't know if that's her really long cloak or if that's her shorter one. And we'll add this line right here. That's the back of Elsa's arm. So give it your best guess on how thick her arm is. Or you can try to measure it and find a clue with her braid. Where is it in relationship to her braid? I'm just going to go ahead and give it my best guess. Always change it later with my eraser. Then let's go back and start adding in some of Elsa's face details. We've already put in the ear, so we can put in the ear detail and then this piece of hair that's right in front of it. So let's go over here and make this little curve at the bottom of the ear. Little check mark like. That's this bottom part right here. And then I like to say this is the little bump that keeps your earbuds in. Or does anybody use earbuds anymore? Maybe AirPods now. And like I said, right in front of that ear is that little piece of hair that comes down on the temples and doesn't really grow that long. Or maybe these princesses just have it trimmed nice and short. But we've got that little triangle there. And then I'm going to look at this triangle to help me figure out where her next hairline goes. You can see there's this triangle right in here. So I'm going to take a look at my drawing and see if I can make the same kind of triangle to help me figure out this really long line of one of her pieces of hair that makes up her bangs. Just make that a little longer. And it goes behind Anna's hat and then comes up in a little curl right there. So you can even draw right through Anna if you want to make sure that this is going to connect right to that little curl. And we can see it comes back into a big bump. Gets wider as it goes back. But it also has this little dividing line that makes a piece on top and a piece on the bottom. And I'm particularly interested in the piece on top because it shows me clues of it getting pointy right here and then getting thicker over here. So from the tip, I'll come down and there's the starting of that pointy shape. Coming around, gets thicker over there. And there's one more line, this little flick right near the bottom. And then I can come back and erase anything that's being covered up by Anna. So very close to the hair that we just drew and very close to that side hair that we just drew is the eyebrow. So I'm going to come in here and start sketching in Elsa's eyebrow. A little thicker towards the nose, a little thinner as it gets to the hair. If you're not sure how big to make it, look for a clue. If we went straight down from this elbow, where would it end up? Kind of near the end of that braid that we drew. We've only drawn it about this far. So if I go down from that eyebrow and I kind of run into that braid, that's a pretty good indication of where it should be. And then we'll draw her eye right underneath. And when we see her eye, we can see a very pointy shape on this side. We can see a roundness over on this side, a little bit of a roundness on the top, but then another point on the other side. So let's take it one step at a time here. I'm going to draw this point, the corner of her eye, the inside corner of her eye. I'm looking for clues that it's about as long as that hair piece there. It's about that far away from the end of the eyebrow. So if I check on mine, make that eyebrow a little bit longer, make sure it hits the same kind of landmarks as my reference picture. And we'll take a look at that curve. It's not as long as the eyebrow, so I know I don't draw it over here. I have to come in a little bit. Curve it. And we can see that this top part is not as smooth as a curve as this one. It's a little bit more pointy like the braid. So I'm going to break it up into two lines. One is going to go across, and then one will go down and connect to the corner of her eye. Clean that up, get rid of all the lines we don't need anymore. So we're looking for a roundness down here and a little bit more angular on top. Then we can add in her eyelashes. Very thick at the ends. As we come back to the corner of the eye, it's going to get closer and closer to her eye lines to get thinner and thinner shape. And you can fill that in if you want to. Then we'll add in her eyelid, which is also not perfectly round. We've got a little bit of an angle there. So I'm going to draw this line first across the top and then have this one come down. So let's draw this one going across. And then we'll just point it down. It doesn't actually touch anything. In our class, some of you mentioned that sometimes the eyebrows look a little worried when they're going a little up too much like that. And we said an easy way to fix that is if your princess is looking a little too worried, you just make it a little more curved, like a rainbow type curve. And it'll make them look not so worried. Let's stick in this partial circle, and if you're not sure how big to make the circle, you can also, again, look at this triangle instead. This looks a little bit like a shark fin. If this was the ocean down here and there was a shark swimming, we might see the dorsal fin poking up. Whichever way seems easier, you can look at the size of the circle, or you can just think, hey, I'm going to draw a little shark fin in here. And by drawing that shark fin, you'll automatically get a curve on the other side for her eye. Next, let's draw this big curling hair because it's very close to the eyebrow and it points to the eye that we just drew. So we have some pretty good clues on where it's supposed to go. And I might have to change this part of the hair a little bit. Looks like I didn't make it quite big enough. But let's take a look at the easy clues, the ones that are very, very close together. I know that her hair is going to come down very close to her eyebrow there. And I know it's going to make a curl and point toward her eye. So I can put in that nice and easy. Now what is it going to do? It looks a little bit like a question mark, doesn't it? There's a big curve and then a little curve. So if this is my little curve, it's got to get bigger as it goes to the top. Thinking about that question mark. We've got a flat end on that side even, just like a block letter question mark. And on the inside, it's a very, very tight little curve right there, almost like the number 7. Let me erase some of my lines that I don't want. So we've got that curl of hair. I think I made mine a little thick. I'm going to go ahead and skinny that up a little bit. I'm still making sure that it's very close to the eyebrow. And still connects into the hair there, still connects into the hair there. Oh, here's where I'm going to have to make a little bit of an adjustment. You can see that this big swoop of hair that we drew actually comes all the way around and touches into the corner of that question mark piece. Whoops. Mine doesn't. It kind of ends short. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself the line that comes up out of there and connect it into my big hair piece. And we also have one more line coming right up out of that question mark lock of hair. And then we can use that lock of hair as a clue for where her nose is. We can go straight down from here, and somewhere along this line is where the side of her nose will probably be. And you can give it your best guess, or you can look for other clues. You can say, well, sideways, it's about at the same spot where her jaw turns. I'm just going to give it my best guess. Like, you can always erase it and move it if you need to. Looking at her nose, I can see that the tip is very pointy. It's almost like a bracket. Then we have a little nostril and the side of her nose. So I made this one a little pointier. Nostril, side of the nose, and get rid of this guideline. And then her nose will go straight up just until it gets to about eye level. Just to about right there. It goes straight up, and then it's going to start leaning a little bit over to her eyebrow. And we can see that her eyebrows are on the same level right here. So as soon as I get to the same level as her eyebrow on the right, I can make her eyebrow on the left. And what do you notice about these eyebrows? You probably notice that one is wide on the paper and one is very narrow on the paper. You can see this one is very wide. This one, it's like you got squished in like that, got made very narrow as her face is turning away from us. And her eyebrow has the edge of her face going up her forehead. That'll go right up into her hair. We haven't drawn that hair yet, but I'll give myself a little line. And we can see that this one is going in towards her nose. And that'll tell us where her other eye goes. And same things with the eyes. You can see how wide this one is and how narrow this one is. So we're going to make this eye not smaller this way, not shorter. We're going to make it thinner. So again, I'm going to start at the corner of her eye that doesn't touch that line, but it comes very close, and I'll draw it just opposite of that eye. So not up here, not down here. We want to try to make it even. It follows the nose up. When we get to about the same height as the eye, I know that's time to make it curve. And then we'll have this bottom curve. Again, about the same level as the first eye. And we'll make it all into one shape. Again, try to look at this inside edge. If you look at the outside edge, you'll probably draw this eye too large. We're looking at this inside edge before her eyelashes. And then we'll come back and add in that thick layer of pencil for her eyelashes. They're going to go right off her head. And then she's got another line for her eyelid that's making a very, very, very skinny shape. And again, it's about the same level as her first eyelid on that side. So that's our clue for where to draw it. And then we'll add in the circular part of her eye. And this one doesn't have that little shark fin shape. It has kind of a weird shape that's hard to do. So for me, I think it's easier to actually just do the circle instead of the other shape. But you can always take a look at the white, see how it's wider at the top and narrower at the bottom. So I'll do that for mine too. I'll make it wider at the top, that white part of the eye. Coming around, it'll get closer and skinnier shape. Something like that. And you can always give it a couple of tries. Adjust the shape of your eye. Maybe mine needs to come up a little bit more. So that I can see more of this circle. That's why erasers are amazing. They help you adjust things as you get more and more clues to where to draw your lines. You can change the parts that need to be changed. Then what happens? Right from her eyelashes, we're going to have the curve of her cheek, and then it's going to go down right underneath her nose. I'm going to give myself a little line right underneath her nose so I know where her chin is going to be. Not starting here, not at the bottom of her eye. It comes almost out of her eyelashes. I'm going to start from her eyelashes, make that round, come down. And we'll start to get her face. I think my Elsa has a little bit of a wide face, but that's okay. After that, we're going to do her lips, and you can see that she has a very skinny upper lip and a little bit thicker lower lip. We are going to do the line in the middle first, where the mouth actually opens. So first, I'm going to go ahead and make her smile. How far does her smile go? If you go straight up from the edge of the smile, you'll get to the edge of that circle in the eye. So if I go straight down from there, I know, oh, that's how far the smile is supposed to go. And then we'll have just a tiny little line on the other side. Same thing with the eyes. One side is wide and the other side is narrow. It's going to be the same for the mouth. Starting right underneath the nose, I'll draw the wide part of her lip, which is actually very skinny, but it goes all the way along her lip there. And on the other side, we just have a very narrow little bump. So in other words, we don't want lips that are even like this. That's for when somebody's looking straight at us, but when we turn, we're going to have one that's long and one that's short. And that's what helps it look like the face is turning away from us. Then for her bottom lip, that's a little bit thicker. There we go. And now that you have her facial features in, you can change her jawline a little bit if you need to. I might go ahead and move her ear a little forward so that her hair can be the thing that is running into Anna instead of her ear. It won't match the picture exactly, but it'll make her face less wide, like she is in the movie. Sorry if my pencil lines are hard to see there. Sometimes the glare of the light makes it difficult. So this is Anna's hair. No, that's Elsa's hair. This is Anna's hair. Going down that way. And then her neck is right underneath her eyeball as well. So I'm going to go down here and stick in her neckline. Right into her braid. And we can go ahead and add the next section of braid, or if you want to put in this little flower first, you can do that. It's just a little circle. And there are 6 petals. So I'm going to do a petal there. Petal right there on the opposite side, like a little airplane propeller. Then I'll do one straight out to the side. Another one straight out to the side. So we've got like a squashed X. And lastly, we'll put one right in the middle this way and on the opposite side too. And then we can have the bump of her braid getting smaller and smaller as it goes down. I'm not going to go draw her hand. Since we don't see any of Anna's hands, I'm going to leave it so we don't see any of Elsa's hands either. You just have her braid going down, or if you want to tie it off, you can have a little ribbon or string and then just put the end of Elsa's hair right there. Then we've got more hair on Elsa to draw. We've done this big swooping piece, but now we're going to do another curve that goes to the back. So from here, right from the center of her bangs, we're going to draw another line that comes up. Nice and round. We're following this one here, this big bump. And where does it come back down? Right over her eye. So it's going to come down about there. Ignore all this stuff on top. We're looking at this curve that goes right into that little swoop. I'm going to move the cats for a moment here. I'm going to pause. Okay, looking at her hair, it's going to come right down into that piece and make a big general curve right there, a little bit like a heart, the top of a heart. You can see I drew lots and lots of lines to give myself options. I generally don't get it right the first time, so I sketch lightly with a lot of lines, and then I find my favorite line and make that one darker. So then we're going to take a look at this piece of hair that wraps around that bump that we just drew. And to make it easier, you might just look at this little triangle down here, this curving little triangle. So if I go in here and I go, okay, I need to make a curving triangle. Sometimes that makes it a little easier to figure out where to put this stuff. Now I can see my triangle here. Triangular shape. I know it's not a perfect triangle, but it's going to go beyond this curve. So I'm going to stretch it out a little more. And then it's going to go up and around. And then it's going to curve back to where it came from. And you can see that the line doesn't touch this piece of hair here. So I'm going to keep it kind of separate. And it comes around. Oh, it's this one. It should have connected to this one. The one that comes around the little question mark piece. Let me erase that. And erase that out of there. Then we have this little texture piece just coming out, breaking up this large shape. No big deal, no need to overthink it. Just put in a little curving triangle there to give it a little bit of texture. Then we have this little curving spiky piece. Comes right out of here, just a little one. We have kind of a raindrop shape happening here where one side is pointy and the other is curved. So let's start at this pointy end, make a curve. And then the last piece of hair is just a little angular line that goes right into her eyebrow. And you can add a few more lines for hair texture in that one as well. I'm not really sure what this piece of hair is, but again, we've got kind of that elongated dorsal fin look. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you don't like it, just erase it. You don't have to do every single thing that the original picture does. Anything else? Let's see, there's another little line in this piece. Separate out that. A little line right here. Another little line right here. Looks like there might be another flower kind of hidden back there. So if you want to add another flower, I would recommend just putting it out where everybody can see it and enjoy it. So I'm going to move mine out here, making a little propeller type shape first. And then we'll do the flat ones going right out to the sides. Makes that kind of X shape. And then fill in the last one like that. For the final touch, we're going to go ahead and darken in the pupils of Elsa's eyes. Let me get her eyes up here. So you can see there's a circle on the inside, but there's also this little tiny bit missing from the circle to make her eyes sparkle. We can see that the top of the circle is touching her eyelashes. So I'm going to start in here, and I'm going to start small because I can always get bigger. So I'm going to touch the top of the circle to there, and you go, oh, but it's too thick at the bottom. This one is even all the way around. So then I'll make a little bit bigger circle. We're going to color this all in black later anyway. I'll just make it bigger, bigger, just touching at the top until the iris looks pretty even around here, this section. I'll go ahead and color it in, except for a little piece on the side. I'm going to grab my eraser. I'm going to leave that white. or a lighter color, and color in everything else around it. Same thing on the other side. And start coloring in. Looking at that stripe that goes all the way around. Leaving a little white spot. And there we go. We have Elsa and Anna.